Welcome to No Two Parts Alike, Variation 101 for non-statisticians. In this educational presentation, we'll explore how to understand natural variation without the need for complex mathematics. Join us as we discover practical ways to recognize and talk about variation in everyday life and work. Imagine baking cookies. Same dough, same oven, same time. Yet no two cookies look identical. You follow the exact recipe, use identical oven temperature, and set the same baking time. When you pull them out, one cookie is a bit larger, another is slightly browner, each with unique features. These tiny differences are normal and delicious. They're not mistakes, but reality. This everyday baking quirk illustrates a principle that applies to everything in life and work. Variation is everywhere. Even high-precision machines can't make parts that are perfectly identical. In healthcare, patient wait times change day to day and hour to hour. Retail sales figures fluctuate naturally. Nature shows us no two leaves, snowflakes, or fingerprints are exactly alike. Variation is the rule, not the exception. Every process at work or in daily life produces outputs that are never exactly the same. High-precision manufacturing still results in microscopic differences. Most of the time, a little difference is expected and normal. This isn't about achieving perfection. It's about understanding patterns and making smart decisions. We're covering Variation 101 to explain why small differences happen in every process. You'll learn how to discuss variation without heavy math or complicated statistics. Understanding variation helps you decide when to take action and when natural fluctuation is harmless, preventing both overreacting to normal differences and missing real problems. Variation means the natural differences or fluctuations in any process or dataset over time. It explains why no two parts are alike, whether you're measuring physical parts, service delivery times, or daily performance metrics. This concept applies to everything: hospital wait times, retail sales, office productivity, project timelines, and customer satisfaction scores. Knowing variation is natural helps set realistic expectations rather than chasing impossible standards of perfect consistency. Quality management focuses on understanding normal variability, not forcing everything to be absolutely identical. Recognizing the normal range prevents panic over small day-to-day fluctuations. We save energy and resources for investigating big, meaningful changes. Signals matter most when they genuinely indicate something has shifted in the process. Range is a simple way to describe variation. For example, if your smallest cookie is 3 inches and largest is 3.5 inches, the range is 0.5 inches. Range is just the gap between the smallest and largest values you observe. It offers a quick sense of the spread without complex calculations. While it doesn't explain everything, it's an excellent starting point. Standard deviation measures the average amount each observation differs from the mean. Machine A with 0.1 mm standard deviation is highly consistent. Machine B with 1 mm standard deviation shows wide variability. Standard deviation tells you if values cluster tightly or spread widely in your dataset. Small standard deviation means high consistency. Large standard deviation signals less consistency. When you see a small standard deviation, most measurements are very close to the average, indicating a predictable, stable process. A large standard deviation shows values spread widely from the average, meaning less consistency. High variability doesn't always mean your process is broken, but outcomes are less predictable. Knowing your process's typical standard deviation helps you set realistic quality expectations. The key is knowing what's normal for your specific process. The critical skill is recognizing when variation is just background noise and when it's a meaningful signal. Normal variation is noise. Unusual variation is a signal. Don't confuse the two. We know variation is expected and can use range and standard deviation to describe it. The real challenge is determining when a difference is normal or a red flag requiring action. Treating normal variation as a signal causes unnecessary panic, while ignoring real signals lets problems grow. Up next, a real-world story will show why this matters. Consider height. 100 adult men won't all be the same height. That would be unnatural. If the shortest is 5 foot 4 inches and the tallest is 6 feet 4 inches, the range is 1 foot, which is a normal variation pattern. The average may be 5 feet 10 inches, with most within 3 inches. This is expected, not a problem. Half below average is just arithmetic, not a crisis needing intervention. A sandwich shop owner insisted every sub should be exactly 12 inches to match their foot-long promise. An employee measured each sub throughout the day. Most subs came out between 11.8 and 12.3 inches, averaging 12.0 inches with a range of about 0.5 inch. The owner was alarmed, saying, "We promise a foot long. They all need to be exactly 12.0 inches with no variation." The lesson: measure and document actual variation in your process. Analyze by comparing the variation to customer expectations. Decide if variation causes real problems and act only when it truly matters. Customers won't complain about 11.9 versus 12.0 inches. Tiny differences are normal in manual processes. Trimming to exactly 12.0000 inches wastes time and bread with no benefit. Managing well means knowing acceptable variation range, not chasing perfection. When you understand the typical range of variation in your process, you won't overreact to every small difference. You save energy and resources for differences big enough to indicate something has genuinely changed. This helps distinguish between random fluctuation, just noise, and meaningful signals that need investigation. Without understanding normal variation, you waste time chasing phantom problems or ignore genuine issues. The goal is to know when variation is within acceptable limits versus when it signals something important. If you don't understand normal variation, there's a temptation to fix every small fluctuation. This leads to constantly adjusting processes that are actually performing well, often making things worse. Chasing every difference is exhausting, expensive, and counterproductive. Learn what normal variation looks like so you can recognize a true signal when it happens. Variation is natural, normal, and expected in every process. Results fluctuate within a range, even when nothing is wrong. Eliminating all variation is impossible and wastes resources. Accepting variation allows you to focus on what truly matters in your work. Range is the simplest way to measure spread. Standard deviation measures consistency. Both are easy to understand. No two outputs are exactly the same in manufacturing, services, or everyday life. Use range to quickly see the spread from smallest to largest value. Standard deviation quantifies consistency and shows if values cluster tightly or spread widely. Normal variation is background noise. Stay calm. No action needed. True signals indicate meaningful change. Investigate and take action. Key takeaway: focus your energy wisely. Don't chase every little difference. Learn what normal variation looks like in your process to recognize true signals. Chasing differences is exhausting and often counterproductive. Focus efforts on variations that signal change. When you keep variation within reasonable, acceptable limits that meet customer expectations, your process stays stable. This frees you from the impossible quest for perfection in every instance. It reduces stress, improves decision-making, and allocates resources where they make a real impact. Accepting normal variation gives genuine peace of mind about your operations and performance.